Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw for Insider Travel Report, and I'm here with a familiar face, Peter Bates, founder and president of Strategic Vision. And Peter, as you know, is a luxury travel expert. We have him on columns, usually several times a year. And most recently, we had a column about his Pulse of the Industry State of Luxury Travel Survey. And we did write a piece about that, or he did actually. And now we wanted to talk to him one on one and get a little sense of that survey. And of course, he and I were both at the Virtuoso Travel Week in August. And so we had a good chance to see what luxury travel was like today. But we're going to try to get Peter's thoughts on luxury travel, and you're going to find out about that and more on Insider Travel Report. Peter, good to see you. How you doing? I haven't seen you since we had a quick coffee the other day.
I know. It's great to see you again. Thanks very much for inviting me. I'm very pleased to be doing this.
Yeah, well, since we're only about this is a crazy one. We're about half hour away from each other, and we're doing it by Zoom.
Yeah, well, that's
Okay.
life today, isn't it?
Life today, yeah. So talk a little bit about how long have you been doing this survey, and who do you survey exactly? Who are the people that are the sources of this survey?
Yeah, good question. We've been doing this particular survey since COVID. We've always done surveys, but this is one we started straight after COVID to
Right.
try and measure what was happening in the world and how travel advisors were dealing with all the changes that were taking place and whether people were starting to travel again. So that's why it started. And we've just done it every year since. We bring it out at the beginning of August each year. The other work we used to do, we used to bring out sort of the end of the year, but I think everybody does surveys at the end of the year, and therefore it isn't as much value. We think doing something middle of the year is probably a bit more value. We go out to senior executives in the travel agency community
Okay.
around the world. It doesn't go to anybody else. It's just to our panel, which we have of senior leaders, and
Okay.
we go to them from time to time and ask them if they will contribute data to us, which they very, very generously do.
Yeah, so it's really a survey of the highest end travel advisors to luxury
Right.
clients. So it's very useful. And of course, for you, you put this out right before the Virtuoso conference, that's why we rushed it into print or into online, I should say. And then of course it's right before all the other luxury travel conferences that we
Yeah.
have here, ILTMs and the two and everything like that. So it's timely and it's also something people want to read. Now, I'll hit you right from the beginning. What was the most surprising finding of this year's survey? Is it that high net worth travelers are still traveling and that demand continues to be robust?
Yeah, it really is. There are lots of changes to the market, but the high net worth consumer is still traveling, still wants to get out there and about. There are some barriers in the way, and things are perhaps not being booked as far in advance as they used to be, but they are still traveling and they are still going around the world.
That's great, and it's great news, especially for the folks that we just met with in Las Vegas earlier in August. Now, but there is a difference, I believe, that you've noted about the way that these high net worth clients are traveling today. You say that luxury travel is no longer in rebound, but because it was doing really
Yeah.
rebound with COVID, but rather in refinement mode, which I thought was an interesting term to use.
Yeah, well, it basically what we're seeing is that we've got to the stage now where people have got it all out of their system, but they have got used to traveling internationally again. They're very pleased to travel again internationally, but they are looking more for value than ever
Right.
before. Um, some parts of the world have become very expensive,
Right.
and some of that is beginning to show through. So I think today we're finding that the travel is a little bit more intentional.
Right.
They're not just about we've got to go now. It's where should we go, when should we go, and what are the experiences we're going to be able to enjoy. But they don't want to pay over the top.
No, absolutely. And in fact, so what overall is the outlook for the rest of 2025? I mean, we're almost done. We have about
Yeah. Mhm.
only 4 months to go.
Yeah.
What's different about the way, basically, does this prove once again that luxury travel, it's always been one of the most resilient and consistent segments of travel, I believe.
Yeah, it has, and it will, I think, continue to be. We're looking when we look at mid-scale travel, it's slower and it is a little bit more price conscious.
Right.
But this part of the market does seem to be able to travel and want to travel. The one big thing that I think we're experiencing at the moment is that they are thinking a lot more about when they go.
Okay.
And so they're not booking as far in advance. They are booking weeks out in some cases because we are living in a turbulent time. And sometimes it's not about just the money, it's about how things are at home and how people are feeling. So they're booking later and they're then traveling, but looking then for value.
Absolutely. So that is something that's happened. But what is driving demand for luxury travelers? I mean, what are the things that they're looking to get out of this travel? I think you listed certain things like family time, self-discovery, transformational travel, which became a new term lately. And that, once we got rid of experiential, which was, but also they want to discover new destinations, art and culture and events. I mean, what is driving that demand for luxury?
Well, let's start with events. The Taylor
Okay.
Swift effect, for instance.
Well,
Um,
she's
and,
getting married now. She's
and
over.
she's back in the news again. That's right. And wherever she goes on honeymoon, that's going to be very important to everybody. But I do think that our clients are now looking very much more for their experiences. They're looking to engage with their family. They're looking to engage with the local community. But they're not just going for the sake of going now. They're going with intention. It's intentional travel,
Okay.
and they want to learn. They want to enjoy themselves. They want to see different parts of the world.
No, absolutely. And so they also, and is there any sense, I know that certain other surveys I've seen recently, are they looking for sustainable travel, do you believe?
That's a very good point. And I think the jury's out. I think to a certain extent they expect hotel companies, tour operators, destinations to be implementing sustainable travel.
Right.
But it probably isn't one of the things they ask about when they go to make a booking. It's there in the background, but
Yeah.
it is not, and it therefore is a driver, but it's not a key driver. It's very few people actually bring up the word sustainability in conversation when they're choosing travel.
Well, it's too long a word anyway, as we said. Yes,
But
I want sustainability in my travel, but
it's true. But they in the back of their mind they do expect that,
yeah.
but it is not a driver.
Yeah. Now, you said it earlier, but you said that hotel rates and maybe cruise fares are starting to get a little too high in certain areas, and there's been some pushback even
Yeah.
from luxury travelers, right?
Yes, there has. I don't think I think cruise is still great value, and I think everybody recognizes it's great value, and certainly from the way bookings are looking in the cruise industry, it's very good. But I do think some hotels have become very expensive in certain parts of the world.
Mm.
Italy, perhaps, France, perhaps, and they're perhaps not so sustainable when they get to those prices.
Are you seeing any shift or in the fall already to that they're
Yeah.
starting some of these rates are
We're
coming
seeing
down?
people question pricing
Okay.
and saying, well, I actually don't need to stay there. Is there somewhere else equally as nice where I could stay instead?
Right.
So I do think that people are saying, actually, I'm not going to pay that. I want to go to that destination, but I'm not going to pay that price. I'm looking for something which offers me greater value.
So there's an opportunity there for some of the resorts out there in certain areas of the world that they can maybe put down their rate or lower their rates a bit, and so they'll be more acceptable to what these luxury travelers are looking for.
Yeah, and certainly don't put them up anymore. Just
Yeah.
you've got to hold. You've got to. Now we all know that costs are going up. It's hard to get staff. Their costs are going up, and there therefore is a balance. But I think we're over the balance a little bit now. We have to contain our pricing in order to attract the customer.
Right. Now, you said this earlier about how travel is much more intentional. We had an era there post-COVID where we called it revenge travel because they were coming back,
Yeah.
and there was some of the best years in travel in the business in 23 and 24. Even 22 was looking better. But now you say it's been replaced by intentional, and that luxury travel isn't necessarily cooling, but I think you said it's recalibrating, which I thought was an interesting way to describe it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they've been there, done it. They've got it out of their system, but they're still going to travel. They've learned how good travel is and why they want to do it. Now we've got to find different ways to drive that business to them and help them understand some of the great opportunities out there, which they are now discovering.
Got it. Now let's talk a little bit about the sentiment among both luxury travel consumers and luxury travel advisors. What did you find was the mood out there? Well, obviously you're talking to luxury travel advisors, but they can also tell you what their clients are thinking. What is
Yeah,
the sentiment out there about travel right now?
sentiment is good from the point of view of the consumer traveling. They want to travel. They have no inhibitions about traveling. From the travel advisor's point of view, some of the words that came back when we asked them how they were feeling, they was feeling that businesses, there's a lot of disruption in their business. They're
Right.
seeing growth. They're feeling challenged. A lot of last minute business. They're strong business. They're very busy, but life is a bit chaotic
Right.
for that reason. It is profitable though, and many of them are saying they will have a better year than last year. But in the back of their minds, there is, like everybody else, some nagging doubt about
Right.
where it's going. But at the moment, I would say that they're all pretty happy, and about 75% of the people who we did speak to said they would have a better year this year than last year.
Well, certainly at the beginning of the year when there were large swings in the stock market, that usually affects some luxury travelers. People see their portfolios change, but that all kind of righted now. And so, at least for now,
Yeah,
this was all the effect of the threatened tariffs, and now we actually have tariffs in the market. This is going to affect certainly certain segments of the population.
right.
Whether that affects luxury traveler, I'm not sure. I'm not so sure right now.
No, but the mid-scale traveler is definitely affecting. I can see that effect at the moment. And I think, therefore, domestic travel
Right.
uh, is perhaps not as strong as it should be. And I think most people will tell you that pace is off in domestic travel.
Which
And
is
that's,
interesting because that's the one everybody initially turned to with COVID.
yes,
And then they started branching out, and luxury travelers were, I think, already heading to Europe and places like that, right?
yes, yes, yes. So
Yeah.
I think from a domestic point of view, we have to be much more tactical in our approach.
Well, we talked a little bit about the emotional drivers that still dominate decisions to buy luxury travel. What do you mean by that?
Uh, so if you're getting away from I've got to travel
Right,
just for the sake of travel, then they're beginning. The consumer is thinking about what experiences that they enjoy. What would they like to see? What would they like to do? What can they experience? And therefore, the emotional part of how we sell is even more important. We've got to tell the story and paint the picture so that the customer says, I really want to go there. And that's where some new destinations, of course, are opening up as well.
yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But what's shifting? You say they have concerns about value and service. We talked a little bit about the value, but how are these concerns affecting the purchase of luxury travel now?
From a travel advisor's point of view, that they are still finding it hard to get information sometimes
Right,
from suppliers in different parts of the world. They need rapid responses because people are expecting rapid answers and they're coming and they're traveling at short notice. And therefore, our partners internationally with whom we're going to go and make these inquiries and bookings need to be understanding that we've got to get back to people clearly and fast.
right.
I think that's very important. I think the travel advisor feels a little bit let down sometimes that their partners overseas are not as responsive as they need to be, and that inhibits sales. And a travel advisor, an independent travel advisor in this country, is determined to get back to their client as quickly as possible with facts, because the client is still going to go and do a little bit of research themselves. And so they've got to have their facts right. And so we do need a little better response time.
Right. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the products and destinations. What's the demand like for luxury cruises? And I include both ocean and river. From what I think your survey shows, it's still pretty strong.
It is. The reports we're getting from the industry are very strong. They are doing well. They are. Just look at the new Regentship, which
Yeah.
just opened for bookings a few months ago, doing incredibly well. One of the best pre-launch booking periods ever. So people want to do things. They want to try new things, and that has been a very, very successful opportunity. And I would add expedition cruising
Right.
as well to your list. But I do think river, expedition, and ocean cruising are all doing very well at the moment, and more people are experimenting and trying it who may not have cruised before. Because when you look at it, the number of people who actually cruise is still pretty small.
Sure.
And but there's a lot more competition coming, and things like Four Seasons and Ritz-Carlton coming into that business.
Yeah.
We've got many more brands about to come into the business.
Mhm.
That's always going to help. They may end up on some of the traditional luxury brands in the end because of itineraries and because of what they want, but there is a much more noise about cruise in this sector than ever before. And that's going to make more people at least try the cruise product.
Absolutely. And you mentioned expedition, and that's a whole category that really took off actually during COVID.
Yes,
A lot of the lines, built ships and even new brands came out during COVID, and we had a whole huge new expedition cruise business that emerged during that period, and now it's still going strong, I think.
absolutely. And new things are coming up all the time. I mean, the North Pole has become a
Oh
very,
yeah, I know.
very interesting place to go now. And it's one of the, we're talking about emotion, but it's also about bucket list, isn't it? There are a certain number of bucket list things people want to go. To go to the South Pole or to go on an expedition, it hasn't got to be a polar expedition, is something is on most people's bucket list.
Right.
So that's where the emotion plays in, and that's where the cruise lines are very good at positioning their product for this market.
No, absolutely. And then some of the cruise lines now, even the ocean ones, are heading into river cruising. So that's
Yeah, yes, they
kind of an
are.
interesting part with obviously we're talking about celebrity,
That's
uh,
right.
um, which is not going to be a product and for I don't know if it's next year or the following year, but the buzz is all around it, and
That's right.
it has existed. And it's sort of there's some companies have had river cruising, but nothing of the majors have gotten into it like
No.
this way in a big way. Now let's talk a little bit about destinations. I think your survey finds that Asia continues to remain very popular in 2025. What's driving that?
Well, I think Japan is the first place. There's a lot of interest in Japan still. And that's one of the places where I think it's hard to plan short term to go to
Right,
Japan because getting the product in Japan is very difficult. And the DMCs there do work a long time in advance. So
right.
short term, it is harder to go. But of course, then that's where the cruise lines come back in because they have some extremely good product going around to Japan. So I think as people think back a few years, they started the Caribbean, then they went back to Europe. They went back to Europe in a very big way. They've done that. Now, where am I going to go? And therefore, Asia is playing a part. White Lotus being in Thailand was great
Sure.
for Asia. And so slowly, it's been a slow process, but there is no doubt that people are spreading their wings and going to new places, and that Asia is one place that's pretty stable and that people want to go to. And the airlift, of course, is now very good,
Mhm.
uh, but expensive. And I think Singapore did a particularly good job after COVID of attracting the market back quite quickly. They were quite nimble in their approach.
Sure. Now so we're on destinations here, so I'm going to skip down and talk a little bit about destinations. What are the top destinations that luxury travelers are going to this year and into next? You said Japan is one, obviously,
Yeah, yeah,
and
it
then of
is.
course our old favorite Italy hasn't is not decreasing in interest. I got to tell you that much.
No, and France and the UK are doing pretty well too. And the fact that the vice president and the president both had their holiday in the UK this year can't be bad for the British product. And then we've got a state visit coming up to the UK next month when the president and the first lady go to the UK. Again, that's going to stir up some interest there. But further afield, I would say that Africa is right there up on the radar, and safaris are right up there on the radar.
Right.
And I think one of the links to all this is the fully inclusive nature. I
Right.
think fully inclusive is something that luxury is really beginning to break into, like they never have before. And you just look at some of the products now. People going on expedition cruises, people going on safaris. The expeditions and safaris are leading us into a more fully inclusive product. And I think you'll see that developing in the luxury market in the coming years.
Well, you're absolutely right. And I think in the past, high net worth individuals didn't really care about whether they had to pay something extra things for different things during the day. They want to be like everybody else. They don't want to have to take their wallets out during the middle of vacation. And
No surprises, isn't it? We don't
yeah.
want surprises.
Yeah, and so it isn't just, there's been a growth in all-inclusive luxury for the last few years, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, what about emerging destinations beyond that? What are some a little off the radar places that
Well,
uh,
not so little, but I mean, I do think South Korea is going to take off. I know the Virtuoso Symposium is going to
yeah,
be there last year, next year rather. I was there earlier this year and had it is an amazing destination, and it's I think going to emerge as a bigger destination in the coming years. People have been to Japan. Perhaps Japan isn't somewhere you go back to very often, but Korea is a great alternative. So I think that's coming up. Portugal, of course, has been
yeah,
high on the radar for a few years now,
one of my
and
favorites.
that will continue.
Yeah.
Places like Croatia, I think, great value there as well. So as well as the old favorites, there are a number of new places coming up, and that's smart luxury, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward. Hopefully, I'll get to the Virtuoso Symposium next year in South Korea. The interest in Korean culture and food and everything else is just, K-pop culture and all that kind
Oh,
of thing.
so much.
And now one of the top restaurants, several of the top restaurants in New York are Korean restaurants, and
That's
we're
right.
not talking barbecue either.
No, no, no,
So
no,
it's
no, no.
interesting how that's grown.
Yeah.
But that's great. No, absolutely. Those are some of the destinations. Now let's return a little bit to
Can
what
I
are
do just
the
one more on this? I
okay.
think one that has not yet come back is China.
Really? Okay.
I think
Why
the
is that?
numbers are still quite limited to China.
Yeah.
That they have got a long way to go, but I think it will come, and those operators who I know who are sending clients there are enjoying it. But I don't think it's back on the radar completely yet.
Well, fortunately, I think there are a lot of wealthy Chinese in the country that
Oh yes,
apparently they can fill a few hotel
oh
rooms.
yes, without a
That
doubt, without
And
a doubt.
I talk to my Chinese friends and I say, how have you been surviving there while the U.S. travelers haven't been coming? And they say, well, there are actually a lot of wealthy Chinese and they're going to these resorts that we keep seeing being built like crazy. Still, the construction and development hasn't stopped.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Now, let's go back to the question I started on about what are some of the concerns that luxury travel agency owners have? I know that airlines travel is still a concern because of the delays and poor service. You think that's still a challenge?
Yeah, I do. I do. There are a number of challenges there, and there were a couple of great quotes in this year's report, which basically said, everything is great except the airline segment, and that still is a problem for many advisors when they're making bookings. There is still constant change there, and really service is not that great when it comes
Right.
to the airline industry. You'll recall that at the time of COVID, there were these great campaigns about how clean airplanes are.
Sure.
Everybody's forgotten that now. And they've gone back to what they were before. It was a moment in time, but not one that they have maintained.
But then again, I've seen a lot of talk, a lot of focus on the front of the plane lately for some of these airlines who seem to be, this is where their most profitable part of the plane is in the premium and first class. And I see even U.S. carriers are kind of revising their premium service, their luxury service. So there has been a focus for the high end, right?
Yeah, there has. First class is still quite a small portion. I think
Right.
business class is where
Yeah.
that's where it really is making a difference. And some of the product in business class now is quite amazing.
Absolutely. Now, one of the other concerns, obviously, or maybe not as much anymore, is the rise of AI, artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
which now has become a noun, AI. And how is that viewed by luxury travel advisors from your survey? Is it a threat or is it something they can use?
Something they can use.
Okay.
I think don't shy away from it. I think they're beginning to use more than beginning to use it. They are using it, and it is a time saver in some ways. You obviously have to check everything and make sure it's accurate, but it is a great way of helping you with itineraries and itinerary planning, and with the back end, the accounting side of it as well. AI is here to stay and must be fully embraced by the industry.
And of course, that's the only question is how and in what chat GBT or offshoot we should be using because there's so many different AI tools now, all specialized. And in fact, even within travel agencies, they're developing their own tools
That's
that
right.
are unique to their company, right?
That's right. That's right. And it is a very fast moving part of the industry. I mean, it is changing so rapidly
Right.
that if we do that, if you're kind enough to invite me back in a year's time, I'm sure we'll be talking about it in a very different way. But it's
Absolutely.
something agencies have to invest in and but get to use as much as possible. And that's perhaps why consolidation in the industry is proving quite valuable because the
Right.
bigger companies are able to invest and then pass the tools down to their independent contractors,
Right.
whereas smaller companies might have a harder time with that.
Got it. No. So is there yet a strategic vision AI tool yet?
Not yet, no.
Not yet. We're waiting, Peter. We're
Yeah,
waiting.
yeah, yeah, I know.
Well, I don't. I'll say we don't have one yet. We've used it a little bit, but not as much as we probably should. Let's talk a little bit about one more destination question. What does your survey say about inbound travel to the U.S. today?
Oh dear,
That's a bad one.
it's a weak spot, I'm afraid,
Yeah.
and it's becoming weaker. Um, uh, the international publicity that this country has been getting has not been as fully positive as it might be into bringing people into the country. And on top of that, we are discouraging guests coming from some of the untrue horror stories you hear about people entering the country. And
Right.
then, there's a lot of the problem is there's so much chit chat out there, and people have got so many choices. They say, well, perhaps I'll give it a miss this year.
Yeah.
So inbound tourism, and I haven't mentioned Canada yet, which is a completely different subject. But I think inbound tourism is suffering, and unfortunately, at the same time, we've lost many of the board members of Brand USA, and we've had their budget cut significantly. So Brand USA are not out there as much as we would
No.
hope they would be countering this, because it does need countering. So my view is that a lot of people are giving this country a miss this year,
Right.
and that is having an effect. Now, the Canadian part of it is I don't think anybody fully appreciated how much business the Canadians how important they were for this market and how many were coming here, and they are not. And that's a different issue. That's another political issue, not one for us to get into here. But domestic tourism is suffering from inbound tourism this year.
Yeah. Are you seeing the same trend from Mexican travelers coming here, or
I haven't seen it as much.
right?
I haven't measured it as much, so I can't really give you an answer on that.
Okay. Now, what about outbound? I mean, outbound, the U.S. travelers are still going, right?
Yeah, they're going gangbusters.
Yeah,
They're
that's
going
fantastic.
gangbusters.
Absolutely.
And
Now,
continually, when you talk to hotel companies around the world, their most valuable customer is still the American.
absolutely. Now, are there any other results of this survey that surprised you? We talked about initially about that high net worth travelers are still traveling. Are there any results that you think should concern luxury travel advisors and their luxury clients?
Well, I think forecasting is the biggest one because everything is becoming such short notice, and people are not booking quite as far out as they used to. Then forecasting for business is a tough one. I think still recruiting within this industry is tough. Finding the right people is really, really important. This is a one-to-one business,
Yeah.
and that it always will be because it's curated, it's personal. And so finding the right advisors, finding the right qualified people to help the clients is still an issue. And as the ICs continue to grow and are recruited, we've got to keep an eye on that. From the point of view of suppliers, training is a real issue there too, because
Sure.
as we increase the number of ICs and they're all working from home, it's harder to meet them, harder to train them, harder to build a relationship with them, which is why events like Virtuoso Travel Week are so important, because it's about building relationships.
Well, even Virtuoso seems to be increasing its number of events exponentially. I think they're going to be up to 80 to 100 events next year. And Virtuoso Travel Week won't be always the biggest one
No.
necessarily, but there will be a lot of other events. And then similar consortia around. I'm heading off to Signature in September, and
Yeah.
at least the owners meeting. And then I'll, going to my usual fall spree of lots of different agency conferences, ILTMs,
Yeah.
things like that. And so there are these opportunities all the time to maybe get more training and more involvement with the suppliers that these ICs sell.
And a lot of the agencies are trying to help there by building their own events, so
Right.
not just relying on their consortia, but having their own events too.
Sure.
Uh, that puts pressure on the suppliers too, because that's even more places to be, and so their cost of sale is going up, and so there's a balancing act all the time.
Absolutely. What puts pressure on the media too, who they invite us to those as well. And sometimes I already do all the consortia events and I'm doing selected host agency events. And after a while, you can't go everywhere. So I have to pick and choose every year and do something different. So it's a
Yeah,
little bit different.
yeah.
Now, first of all, Peter, I want to thank you for taking so much time to talk about this great survey. When I got it, we posted it right away, right before
Thank you.
Virtuoso. And I encourage people to go back. But if they want to get that survey from you, where can they go to find out more about it?
Go to our website, www.strategicvision.org. Strategicvision.org, you'll find it there on the website. You can download it there.
All right, Peter. Well, thank you. It was great to see you out in Las Vegas, as always. Even though we don't live that far apart, we end up
No,
seeing each other. And the next one, I suppose I'll see you at an ILTM or somewhere very soon. And so I'm looking forward to that.
indeed. Very nice to talk to you. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.